Well, you know, I've been very busy in Africa now for 15 years. In fact, I just got back from my 123rd African country visit in 15 years. I was working in Uganda when I found out that up north in the area called Gulu, this guy named Joseph Kony had been for about 20 years mutilating kids. What he did, he'd go out into the villages and he'd kidnap and he'd abduct children, turn the girls into prostitutes. And we're talking about 12 and 13-year-old kids, and then make soldiers out of the boys. And once the kids learned how to kill people, they had to go back to their villages and kill their parents and all their siblings. If they didn't do that, they cut their lips off and they cut their noses off. And so I went up to Gulu and I saw these mutilated kids and thought, you know, nobody knows about this. No one's done anything about this. And so we decided to make this a mission. And my goal at that time was to get the United States Senate to understand that we needed to have as a policy to go after this monster called Joseph Kony and the Lord's Resistance Army and put them out of business. Well, yeah, here's what we have learned, and this is just a few days ago. The different countries where Joseph Kony is, he started in northern Uganda, but he's also been to the Central African Republic. He's been as far north as South Sudan. I went up to South Sudan. It's a new country. Talked to them about their priorities. And then, of course, President Museveni in Uganda and President Kabila in Congo. Well, it's necessary for all of them to get together. What I learned this last time is they are finally all concentrating and working together. The interesting thing about these presidents of these African countries is they came from the bush. They were all fighters, and they didn't want to admit that they couldn't do it by themselves. But now we have, since we have all these countries together that I just mentioned, in the United States supporting them, it's now being done. And what I learned is that a lot of confidential things that I can't repeat, but they're getting very, very close. Hopefully, this will be the year. I really haven't. And the interesting thing for me is that I met these young college kids with their cameras up in Gulu, and that's been 7, 8 years ago. And they all got caught up in this thing, and they said that they were going to go out and generate a bunch of support from all around the country, and they did. I remember once, and this probably was 4 or 5 years ago, they came to me and said, we've got a group down on the mall, a group of college kids. Do we come down and talk to them? Well, I thought maybe there might be 30 or 40 of them. They had like 3,000 screaming young people. Well, what I did is give them the message. You talk to your member of the House and primarily the Senate, because I was trying to get legislation through at that time. And these young people and their enthusiasm is the reason that we had the support, that I ended up getting 64 co-sponsors on the bill that is set up to go after Joseph Kony. And in fact, that's more co-sponsors on any bill affecting Africa in the history of the United States Senate, all because of these kids. Yeah, I think we can. You know, you look at people in Africa that are just there, like Mugabe down in Zimbabwe, and you have to wait till they die. In this case, there are so many people who are joining together now that he is literally on the run. We came very close to where he was in East Congo not long ago. Like 2 days, in the 2 days prior to that, he fled up north and left a trail of blood and murdered and mutilated kids on the way up. At that time, he was going up into the Central Africa Republic. So we have a pretty good idea of the general area where he is, and the answer is yes, we'll get Joseph Kony. But the Lord's Resistance Army is headed up by one guy, that's Joseph Kony. But he represents a terrorist ring. He commits terror. It used to be just in northern Uganda. Now it's in 5 different countries. And so it's our policy to stop terrorism all around the world, but particularly right now on the continent of Africa. So I think it's very important that we view this not as just one guy who's mutilating kids, but a major terrorist ring, and this is the time to stop it.